Hail adventurers and welcome to another episode of Which Way is North, the show where I look at fantasy maps sent in by you and I tell you what I would have done differently. My name's Ben, aka the Eldritch Cartographer. I am a professional fantasy cartographer. That's not a real job. You idiots pay me though, so I'm going to call myself professional. Today we're looking at a map sent in by Robert. This is a map of a place called Equulia? Equulia? I love homebrew names. Hey, I liked your new series providing feedback on maps. I follow yours in a number of channels, so my submission is almost a kind of test to see how much I've picked up. I have to say, this is insane. This is really good. I don't really know if you need much help from me. Here is a continent level map of my home setting of Equulia. It's partially unfinished along the northernmost edge, but the rest is pretty much there. Would appreciate a tag if you do review it for your channel. Robert did say in his email that he's been watching my channels for a while and so is seeing if he has picked up anything, and yeah, dude, you're smashing it. You're doing really well. One thing I really like here is that you've got a really nice varied continent shape, but still somewhat within the realm of believability, but just weird enough to make it really high fantasy, which is really cool. Just having that jaggedness to your coastline rather than like the blobby kind of shapes that you usually see with like early maps that people draw just gives it so much more believability. And you've done something which I love, which is doing these little archipelago trails of islands and lots of islands dotted in the sea, which is really cool. It just makes the map look 10 times better. Wait a minute. Oh, you dirty bugger. You've done your rivers correctly. I feel like a proud father. Those rivers are perfect. Tick! I love this style of continent shape. I don't know what you call it. It's kind of like the George R.R. Martin, like Westeros, like snaky long continent. You've kind of gone into this S shape and I love it. What's the word for that type of continent shape? It's really cool. The only thing that I would say with this is that you've got all of this unused space up in the north, and if you're not going to use all of this space, have the border of the map come up to that point, like hide that. I know you said it's not finished yet, but I'd be tempted to leave that part of the world unfinished and make it more mysterious and adventurous and fun to explore. That way it just means that when your players are going through the world or seeing the map, then this is a mysterious place up north. You could even have it like barred by a sea of ice or whatever. I don't know what the law of your world is, but that's what I would do. It also just adds an edge of believability, as it means that the cartographers and sailors of this world might struggle getting around this northern part of the sea. It might be completely unexplored that we know of, or just so desolate and barren that it's almost impossible to map. And while we're on the subject of that, you should do a nice decorative border around your map. Then you could push the north up past that and just have a nice border that just ends with the continent being half off the map. I say half off the map, like this tiny bit here is off the map. It will just bring the whole thing together and turn it from something which looks very good for doing lore and world building and for you as a DM to track where everything is, into something which is really nice to give your players and something which feels immersive and makes them feel wanderlust and a sense of adventure when traveling through this world. You don't want to make your map look too clinical and exact as if it's been taken by a satellite image. Because as a player, I think that just completely diminishes the fun feeling of exploration. The world already feels explored. Every nook and cranny has been detailed. Hell, I even like to sometimes add things onto my maps that don't actually exist. This was a thing that happened in a few medieval maps. There's a really cool example of this where people were adding this island to the west of Ireland. This island doesn't exist whatsoever, but cartographers would repeatedly put it in because once upon a time, an old cartographer had put that island on there by mistake. I think it was something to do with a mirage or something that made it look like there was an island out there when there wasn't. And because cartographers don't actually go out into the world and usually explore by boat, they're usually sat in some library or scriptorium or something somewhere. They just copied what was on the other maps when they redrew theirs. So for ages and ages and ages, they kept adding this little island and it doesn't exist. Doing little things like that adds to the immersion and world building of your world, as it makes your map and the handout that you're giving to your player feel like it is an imperfect part of the world. Leave a little room for human or elf or dwarf or D&D race error. And while we're on the subject of things that are missing, where the hell is the compass? Compass rosettes are really cool. They are pretty much useless as most map orientations are gonna be north, south, east, west, but it's just a nice little flourish to add. It's something that you can go really decorative with as well. If you've got an aspect of your world's lore or maybe an artistic flourish you want to put in, a compass rosette can really set a theme. If you were, for example, doing a Viking map, I might do it in a style which is similar or reminiscent of a Nordic compass. That way, it just makes the players immediately feel at home and like they understand what the setting is without you having to tell them as much. Show, don't tell. I see that you have put the mileage in, and that's fine. I think especially if you're using this as a DM and you want to track travel that way, that's fine. I personally don't bother with tracking mileage on any of my maps whatsoever. Again, I feel with most medieval maps, the actual sense of scale was usually a bit off. Having the mileage just makes it feel like a satellite image map or something that would be used for navigation. Now, maybe in your world this is used for Maybe in your world this map is going to be used for navigation and that everyone has maps and it's a very common thing to use. But actually, if you look into medieval history, not many people actually used maps, and certainly not for navigation, especially on land. They used to literally write lists of towns where you go to this town, then go to this town, then go to this town, and eventually you end up in London or wherever you're going. So a lot of maps were more artistic. They were meant to portray some kind of religious message, or maybe they were a scientific reproduction of an older map, but still with inaccuracies and all sorts of things. There's a really good video by Pointy where he talks about a better way to do travel in D&D, and ever since I've seen that video, I have never used mileage or a scale of any kind on any of my maps, because, yeah, go watch that video. It's pointless otherwise. I'll link that somewhere. You also want to put a title card in, just a little thing with the name of the place on it. Again, you can make this decorative or interesting, or you can just literally put the name up there. Just so, again, it's a link to your world. Makes the map feel more decorative, less kind of cold and calculating. You are obviously doing this digitally, and by doing it digitally, I know that you are restricted with artistic flares that you can put in. However, I would encourage you to have a go at reproducing this by hand. I think you could 100% do it. Just because you can add some little artistic flourishes where I know you've obviously done this one in colour, but if you wanted to do like a stained map or even just a pen and ink map, you could differentiate the sea and the land with some cool little artistic flourishes, or maybe even putting Here Be Dragons kind of vibes, krakens in the sea and all that sort of stuff. I'm seeing that not many of your settlements are coastal, but if you wanted to do roads and lines and trade routes, that's something you could also add, and it would also add a function for the map within your world. Again, the maps don't necessarily need a function. Sometimes just having a map is useful. The way I like to do it is by not having it to scale, the map becomes slightly dubious as a navigational tool. So by showing trade routes or something else, you can maybe invent a reason for why this map was made. Maybe it was made for a local merchants guild and it shows their routes from city to city and the safe roads that they like to travel. Or commonly travelled shipping routes. Just an idea. As I said, your map is really good, but it's just those little things that can take it sometimes from being a cool map to a really cool map. I want to start doing something a little bit new with Which Way Is North. As much as I like giving you my opinions and everything, I also want to give something back. It's all well and good me sitting here and telling you how I would do it, but why don't I show you how I would do it? Ta-da! So from now on with Which Way Is North, I want to start making the maps that I review in my style. Rather than just telling you things, I find it easier to show. I'm a visual learner, so some of you are bound to be. What I'm going to do, Robert, is I'm going to send this to you. So if you could send me your address, I'm popping this in the post and sending it to you as a little treat. And anyone who I review from now on will also get the same thing. Because I've had a bazillion applications for Which Way Is North, which, thank you, gives me loads of content, it's obviously going to take me longer if I'm producing the maps. Bearing in mind, I have had to have a little break to do stuff for festivals and stuff, but that doesn't matter. So rather than just popping my email down there and letting everyone send whatever, I am going to do this via my Patreon. Now, I've only just set this Patreon up, My intention is to give you some access to exclusive content as well as pages from a book that I'm writing to be kind of uploaded slowly. The book is going to be basically Which Way is North. It's going to show you how to draw fantasy maps in the style that I have learnt to do them. That is maybe a year away or something. That's a long-term project, but I'll be posting updates as it goes. For £1 a month, you'll have access to my Discord. Within my Discord, you will have an option to submit a Which Way is North map. There is a channel in there which is dedicated to Which Way is North submissions. I will be prioritizing submissions via the Patreon. So Patreons get their submissions done first. That doesn't include people who have already sent me submissions. Everyone who's already sent me a submission will get theirs done regardless, and they'll get them done before the Patreon people. I feel like that's fair. So if you did want to submit a map for me to have a look at, then head over to my links and follow my Patreon. Thank you so much for your patience. I was preparing for my festival season, which has now started. It actually started with the Wildwood Renfest, which was amazing. It was up in a place called Redcar, which is near like Middlesbrough. And I think it was the first year that they've done it. And it was unreal. It was sensational. And I'm so excited to see how that grows. I have a video on my takeaway from that, both on my TikTok and my Instagram. So go and check those out. And yeah, if you are going to Fantasy Forest this year, that is the other festival that I'm doing. Please, 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 please come and say hi to me. In fact, if somebody brings me a map that they want me to review then and there, I'll do that. I think next year I may be doing some workshop-y stuff and I might try and incorporate Which Way is North there. We'll see. That's fine. I don't want to promise things that I'm not going to do. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Which Way is North, and until next time, safe travels, adventurer.